Daniel stepped off the airplane and took a deep breath. He was finally home after 5 years. He had planned this trip for months. He would surprise his mother, hug her tight, and tell her that all her prayers had been answered. He was rich now. She would never have to suffer again. But what Daniel would find when he arrived at the house he built for her would change everything he thought he knew about his life. Hello friends. Welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? New York? London? Maybe Jamaica or South Africa? We want to know. Daniel Miller was a billionaire. He owned 3 companies, 2 hotels, and had money in banks across the world. People wrote articles about him. They called him the boy who became a king and the genius who turned dreams into dollars. But 5 years ago, Daniel was just a poor young man with torn shoes and big hopes. Back then, he lived with his mother, Mama Ruth, in a tiny apartment with walls so thin you could hear the neighbors coughing at night. Mama Ruth was the one who made Daniel's success possible. When Daniel was young and his father died, Mama Ruth didn't cry for long. She dried her tears and went to work. She washed clothes for rich families. She cleaned their houses. She cooked their food. Sometimes she worked 3 jobs in one day, coming home so tired she could barely stand. But she never complained. Not once. Every morning she would wake Daniel up with a smile and say, "Today is going to be a good day, my son. I can feel it." She saved every penny she could. When Daniel needed school fees, she paid them. When Daniel needed books, she bought them. When Daniel was hungry, she gave him her own food and said, "I already ate, baby. This one is for you." Daniel knew she was lying. He knew she was hungry too. But Mama Ruth would just smile and pat his head, and Daniel would eat because he didn't want to make her sad. Daniel worked hard in school. He got a scholarship to college and studied business and computers. He was smart and determined. After college, he got a job at a small company in the city. The pay wasn't much, but it was more than Mama Ruth had ever made washing clothes. Then Daniel met Vanessa. Vanessa worked at a fancy coffee shop downtown. She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that makes people stop and stare. She had smooth skin, long hair that she always styled perfectly, and she wore dresses that looked expensive even when they weren't. She had long fingernails painted bright colors and lips that smiled but never looked warm. Daniel was serving coffee one day when Vanessa walked in. She looked at him and smiled, and Daniel felt his heart jump. A woman like her had never looked at him before. They started dating. Vanessa made Daniel feel special. She would hold his hand in public and introduce him to her friends. "This is my boyfriend Daniel," she would say proudly. "He's going to be very successful one day." But Vanessa didn't like to visit Daniel's apartment. "It's so small," she would whisper. "And the neighborhood is, well, it's not very safe, is it?" And Vanessa didn't like Mama Ruth very much either. Oh, she was polite enough when they met. She would smile and say, "Nice to see you, Mama Ruth." But her eyes were cold and she never stayed long. One time, Mama Ruth cooked a special dinner for Vanessa. She made her best soup and rice, using money she had been saving for a new pair of shoes. Vanessa took one bite, made a face and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not very hungry. I ate before I came." Daniel saw the hurt in his mother's eyes, but Vanessa just checked her phone and didn't notice. Still, Daniel loved Vanessa. Or at least he thought he did. She was beautiful and confident, and she made him feel like he could be more than just a poor boy from a tiny apartment. After 2 years of dating, Daniel asked Vanessa to marry him. He couldn't afford an expensive ring, so he bought a simple silver one from a small shop. When he got down on one knee in the park, Vanessa looked at the ring and her smile flickered for just a second. But then she said yes. They got married in a small ceremony. Mama Ruth wore her best dress, the only good dress she owned, and cried happy tears. Vanessa wore white and looked beautiful, but she seemed annoyed that the wedding wasn't bigger or fancier. After the wedding, Daniel, Vanessa, and Mama Ruth all lived together in the tiny apartment. It was crowded, but Daniel thought it would be okay. They were family now. But Vanessa hated it. She hated sharing the small bathroom. She hated hearing Mama Ruth's old radio playing gospel music in the mornings. She hated eating dinner at the wobbly table in the cramped kitchen. "When are we going to get our own place?" she would ask Daniel every single day. "Soon," Daniel would promise. "I'm working on it." Then one day everything changed. Daniel got a phone call from a big company in another country. They had heard about his work with computers and technology. They wanted him to come work for them, and not just as a regular worker. They wanted him to help start a whole new division of their company. The pay was incredible. More money than Daniel had ever imagined. But there was one problem. The job was far away. Very far away. in a country across the ocean. I would have to leave for at least 5 years, Daniel told Mama Ruth and Vanessa that evening. Maybe longer. But the money? Mama, with this money I can change our lives. I can build you a real house. I can make sure you never have to work again. Mama Ruth's face fell. 5 years? That's such a long time, my son. But Vanessa's eyes lit up like fireworks. 5 years is nothing, she said quickly. Think about what you could do with that money, Daniel. This is your big chance. But what about you too? Daniel asked. I can't leave you in this tiny apartment. So build us a house before you go, Vanessa said. Use your savings. Take out a loan if you have to. Build a nice house where your mother and I can live while you're away. We'll be fine. Won't we, Mama Ruth? Mama Ruth looked at Vanessa, then at her son. She saw the hope in Daniel's eyes. She saw his big chance sitting right in front of him. We'll be fine, Mama Ruth said quietly, even though her heart was breaking. You should go, Daniel. Take the job. So Daniel did. He took out a loan and used every penny of his savings. He hired builders and worked with them every evening after his regular job. Within 6 months, the house was finished. It had 3 bedrooms, a big kitchen, a living room with soft couches, and a garden with space for flowers. It had a red roof, just like Mama Ruth had always dreamed about when Daniel was little. This is your house, Mama, Daniel said, holding her hands. You'll never have to live in a cramped apartment again. Mama Ruth cried. You did this for me? I did it for both of you, Daniel said, looking at Vanessa. You and Vanessa will live here together. You'll take care of each other while I'm gone. Like mother and daughter. Mama Ruth saw something flash across Vanessa's face, something cold and angry. But it disappeared so fast, Mama Ruth thought maybe she had imagined it. Of course, Vanessa said sweetly, taking Daniel's arm. I'll take wonderful care of your mother. She's family. But the way she said family made Mama Ruth's stomach feel tight. The day Daniel left, Mama Ruth and Vanessa went to the airport with him. Mama Ruth held her son's face in her hands and said, Promise me you'll take care of yourself. Don't work too hard. And call me even if it's just for a minute. I promise, Mama, Daniel said, tears running down his face. And I'll send money every month. Lots of money. You and Vanessa will have everything you need. I don't need money, baby. I just need you. I know, Mama. But this is for our future. 5 years will go by fast. You'll see. Daniel hugged his mother one more time. Then he hugged Vanessa, who whispered in his ear, Don't worry about anything here. I've got it all under control. Then Daniel picked up his suitcase and walked toward the gate. He turned back and waved. Mama Ruth waved back, tears streaming down her face. Vanessa waved too, but as soon as Daniel turned around, her smile disappeared. She looked at Mama Ruth with cold eyes and said nothing. They drove back to the house in silence. And that night everything changed. For the first few weeks, Vanessa was nice to Mama Ruth. Not warm or loving, but polite enough. They lived in the house together. Mama Ruth cooked meals. Vanessa went shopping and met with her friends. They didn't talk much, but they didn't fight either. Daniel called every Sunday just like he promised. How are my 2 favorite ladies? He would ask, his voice full of joy. We're fine, son, Mama Ruth would say. Then Vanessa would take the phone. Everything is perfect here, honey. Your mother and I are getting along great. Don't worry about us. Just focus on your work. And Daniel believed her. Why wouldn't he? They were family. But in the 2nd month, things started to change. Vanessa's friends came to visit one afternoon. They were loud and fancy, wearing expensive jewelry and laughing at jokes Mama Ruth didn't understand. They sat in the living room and Mama Ruth brought them tea and cookies. Who is this? One of Vanessa's friends asked, looking Mama Ruth up and down. Oh, that's my mother-in-law, Vanessa said, waving her hand like it didn't matter. She lives here. The friend's eyes got big. You live with your husband's mother? In the same house. How do you stand it? All of Vanessa's friends laughed. Mama Ruth felt her face get hot. She quickly left the room. After the friends left, Vanessa came to find Mama Ruth in the kitchen. Mama Ruth, Vanessa said, her voice sweet but her eyes cold. I think it would be better if you stayed in your room when my friends visit. They're not used to having older people around. It makes them uncomfortable. Mama Ruth felt a pain in her chest. But this is my house too. Daniel built it for me. Vanessa's face changed. The sweetness disappeared. Actually, she said slowly, Daniel built this house for his wife. For me. You just happen to live here because Daniel feels sorry for you. That's not true, Mama Ruth whispered. Isn't it? Vanessa crossed her arms. Daniel is my husband. This is my house. And if you want to keep living here, you need to remember that. Do you understand? Mama Ruth felt tears in her eyes, but she nodded. She didn't want to cause trouble. She didn't want Daniel to worry. From that day on, things got worse and worse. Vanessa started giving Mama Ruth rules. Don't use the living room when I'm watching TV. Don't cook when my friends are here. Don't make noise in the morning. Don't take long showers. Mama Ruth followed every rule. She stayed quiet. She stayed in her room. She tried to be invisible. But it was never enough for Vanessa. Across the ocean, Daniel was working harder than he had ever worked in his life. He woke up at 5 in the morning and worked until midnight. He had brilliant ideas. He created computer programs that helped businesses run better and faster. People loved his work. His bosses promoted him, then promoted him again, then made him a partner in the company. Daniel started his own business on the side. Within 2 years, that business was worth millions of dollars. Within 4 years, he was a billionaire. Every month, like clockwork, Daniel sent money home. $5,000 at first, then $8,000, then $10,000, sometimes more. Make sure Mama has everything she needs, he would tell Vanessa during their phone calls. Oh, she does, Vanessa would always say. She has more than enough. Stop worrying. But Daniel did worry. The phone calls with his mother got shorter and shorter. She never talked much anymore. How are you, Mama? He would ask. I'm fine, son. Are you eating well? Yes, yes. Is everything okay with you and Vanessa? Everything is fine, Daniel. Don't worry about me. How is your work? The call started to feel strange to Daniel, but he was so busy. Always in meetings. Always traveling. Always making deals. He told himself that Mama Ruth was just getting older and more quiet. That was normal, right? And Vanessa always sounded so cheerful. Your mother is doing great, she would say. We went to church together last Sunday. She's healthy. She's happy. You should see her smiling. So Daniel believed her. He sent more money. He promised himself he would visit soon. But soon kept getting pushed back. Next month. Next year. After this big deal. After that important meeting. 5 years passed. And back at home, Mama Ruth's life had become a nightmare. After the first year, Vanessa stopped pretending completely. She stopped buying food for Mama Ruth. The money Daniel sends is for the house, Vanessa would say. If you want special food, use your own money. But Mama Ruth didn't have any money. Daniel sent everything to Vanessa's account, and Vanessa controlled it all. Mama Ruth started eating smaller and smaller meals. Sometimes just rice and a little bit of vegetable. Sometimes nothing at all. She got thinner. Her clothes started to hang loose on her body. Vanessa's friends would come over and have parties. They would cook expensive meals, steaks and pasta and desserts. The smell would drift to Mama Ruth's room and make her stomach hurt with hunger. Sometimes Vanessa would knock on Mama Ruth's door late at night. You're being too loud, she would say, even though Mama Ruth was just lying in bed silent. I'm sorry, Mama Ruth would whisper. You should be sorry. This is my house. You're only here because I allow it. Then came the day Vanessa told Mama Ruth to leave. It was a Tuesday morning. Vanessa came into Mama Ruth's room and said, I think it's time you found your own place. Mama Ruth looked up from her bed, confused. My own place? But this is my home. Daniel built this for me. Daniel built this for his family. For me. You're just a guest who has overstayed her welcome. Please, Mama Ruth said, her voice shaking. Don't send me away. Where would I go? Vanessa shrugged. That's not my problem. But if you stay here, I'm going to tell Daniel that you've been stealing from me. I'll tell him you've been taking money and jewelry. I'll tell him you've been mean to me and making my life miserable. But none of that is true. Who do you think Daniel will believe? Vanessa asked, her eyes cold. His wife? Or his mother who he hasn't seen in years?